This is your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask with your host, Dr. Judith Briles. On the show today, you'll find out where book publishing is going and how to take advantage of it. How to identify and avoid publishing predators. What opportunities are emerging as the book trade evolves in new forms. How to avoid losing money and much, much more. Join us now as a variety of publishing pros will deliver insights and strategies to take the author to the next level of publishing. It's your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. Brought to you by AuthorU and the Book Shepherd. And now, here's your host, Dr. Judith Briles.
Well, good morning, everyone, and Happy New Year to you. As we stand and we're looking forward to rolling out so much more in what we do in the AuthorU-Your Guide to Book Publishing podcast, as well as just a variety of things that will make your life as an author better, will make it soar, will have ideas coming up. I always say up the gazoo, so you can interpret that however you want it. But just things to make your authoring and publishing life better. That's what this is about right now. And I think that we'll have some fun. I'm going to have a lot of the shows for the first part of the year where I'll just do solo. I'm going to be focusing on marketing. I'll be focusing on of the art of repurposing. I'll be focusing on crowdfunding. I'm going to be focusing on things for speaking and so much more in that area. So then I will be able to really say, okay, you've got the core basics, you've got all this going on, you've got a variety of things that will make you better, more successful, more profitable. And I think that's what's really important to do that. So the first thing I want you to do is that this is going to be an exercise that you should be doing. I would do it a couple of times a year. But I think that in the beginning, in the forefront, in the first quarter, this is a great time to do it. And then do a revision as you get into the last quarter of the year. But what I want you to do is just get out a piece of paper. Do it landscape. I want you at the very top of it, I want you to put my author goals or my publishing goals or my book, blah, 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 goals, what you're going to put together in that. All right. That will be the start. And then underneath it, I want you to have subsections on it. Now, I will tell you, when I did this for me with my private coaching group, which I do on Friday mornings, that when I did this, I had it, this was for the Book Shepherd. And this was going to be for all about what we want to do within the website of it, because we have a whole new website, a whole new revamping for thebookshepherd.com. And so that's where we started working on this and laying it out and moving forward with it. So I had that for one whole column was, okay, so what do I need for the website? Another column was, okay, so what kind of content do I need to bring into it? Another column was for marketing. Another column would be for maybe new events. All right. So underneath those would be a whole bunch of subsets. Now, you're not writing a sentence here. We're going for fast 1 to 2 words max on it. So just as this like a brain dump and pushing along. So for the website was to redo, to re-identify, to it had a retitling of some of our tabs and the like. For the marketing, there was a whole bunch of things that we were going to do, variations with some of the social media things that we currently do, and then expanding. And then like one of my VA said, I think you, JB, should look at maybe doing something on TikTok. And it was like, oh my God, TikTok. So we actually are going to be doing something on that, a whole new expansion in what we're doing with YouTube. Last year, we really focused on getting all our podcasts up on YouTube. Now we're going to re-expand that where I will be, I don't know if like any of you got at the end of the year, but I got what I call the crud, the cold crud, not COVID, not anything like that. I just got a cold that I hadn't had for 10 years. And it decided to say Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. And I really literally lost my voice for a couple of days. I finally just caved in. You're just going to go into comfort mode. You're going to get on jammies. You're going to watch silly movies. You're not going to talk at all. And you're just going to be sipping hot beverages until you get through that. So we did that. But those things I always would have on my goal, stay healthy, because that's been important for me to do. But with YouTube, okay, I couldn't start going with videos like the little tips that I'm doing, 1 to 2 minute max tips. Doing that. One of my whole things on content was to repurpose all my content. Now, I've done a whole podcast on repurposing, the power of repurposing. And I declared this year the power of reinvent, reimagine, redo, republish, rewrite, repurpose. I have taken every one of my publishing books, and most of them were retitled. They have all been gone through with an extensive gut editing, revamping, redo, and they will all be republished the first quarter. And again, some have a retitle on that. So that was on my hit list as I came out of 2021, but it couldn't be all executed because the crud hit, and then moving into that. So what I want you to do in just laying out these things, come up with 5 to 7 items in this column. This is what I typically do. Marketing is always going to be at the top. Content development is always going to be at the top. For me, will be a major section. Website, massive gutting of my website happened all throughout last year. And then other elements. And then I think your overall, like one of the things in the experiences, which is what I call my events, is the experiences. And we've really come in with a bottom line, and I've really hit on certain things because I do a lot of free work, and free programs and free webinars. But what I am saying, and even for some of the ones that we charge for, if they're not a minimum and we put a number down, a certain number of minimum of people participating, signed up by the day before, guess what? I cancel them. And someone said, well, I was going to sign up today. Too bad. You didn't sign up before the deadline. And I think that we all need to step back and start really supporting our time, what we do with our time. We need to put a value on your time, a dollar amount on your time, and really, really consider when you're doing things, is it worth your time, your energy, your creativity, or is it better directed in other areas? So do that part of that exercise. I wouldn't put more than 5 minutes into it, max 10. But 5 minutes is kind of what I look at. And then I have it all. I do it on paper. I do not do if you want to transfer it to your computer, go ahead. But I keep it on paper that I can just pick, feel it, touch it. Okay, so this is what I'm doing. This is where I'm going. This is what I'm about this year. And it allow me to refocus and stay focused, which is what's very important for all of you if you want to be successful in the author journey. Now, besides republishing all my books, I've got a new book that I started last year, which I will complete, which is called The Author's Walk. And to get going, and it's got some really different new elements I've put into it. For me, I've always written punchy. I'm a punchy writer, but that just some really different elements, bringing it in. And testing it out, and then I can sit with it and marinate and then get going on it. So this year, it's a new year for all of us. I don't care when in the year you listen to this podcast. It could even be next year. But what I'm talking about applies to you and your author success going forward. And going forward is really what it's all about. Now, there's one other thing, a book I've mentioned to many people, and I just did a reread myself. It's a shorty. And it's called Mastery. And Mastery is one of those books that I think that you all should really discover. It was turned out to be a book that was I discovered when I was working on my master's a gazillion years ago. And the author's George Leonard. And the subtitle is The Keys to Success and Long-Term Fulfillment. All right, so that's professional. That could just really deal with anything. Now, Leonard is an Aikido master, and the whole book is drawn on his Zen philosophy and his expertise in the art of martial arts. And one of the things that I took away, and by the way, my entire master's class, this was required reading in my master's in the organizational development module, that we read this, is that we took it away, is how important it is to plateau. Now, we may all think, oh my God, we're stuck. What am I going to do? I'm stuck. Plateauing, Leonard talks about how powerful it is because it allows you to do a regroup, a relearn, a revisit, a relook over, to really see, okay, so what's working, what's not working, let's throw out this part, let's bring in this part, maybe let's add to this part, all of that. And it talks about it uses an elevator as a metaphor, that if you get on an elevator, we all expect to go from floor 1 to floor 40. And the reality is, maybe you need to be stuck on floor 3. Do what you need to learn and go from there. And then when you step back on, woof, floor 40 is at your fingertip. With that, we'll be right back. This is Judith Briles. I'm your book shepherd. It's AuthorU, your guide to book publishing. And we're ready to go with ahas and insights for book marketing.
This is your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles. And we'll be right back with more great information right after these.
Is there a book in you? Or another? AuthorU shows you how to create, develop, and publish your book without being hoodwinked. If you already have a book out, you will find a supportive and brainstorming community that is connected and creative, no matter where you live. AuthorU brings in national experts for its book camps and annual AuthorU extravaganza. It has regular meetings and delivers webinars for its members on timely topics. Through AuthorU's extensive network, members enjoy exclusive benefits, including significant discounts for a variety of services necessary to publishing. AuthorU is the premier authoring resource in the country, creating community, education, guidance, vision, and success for the serious author. If you want to create a book that has pizzazz, punch, and panache, AuthorU is for you. Timely author and publishing tips and articles are posted on its social media platforms, and it is free. Discover AuthorU, where authors go to become seriously successful. Join AuthorU today at AuthorU.org.
Welcome back to your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. If you want to write and publish a book, if you want to be successful as an author, your guide to book publishing, everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask, is for you. Stay tuned and you'll hear about statistics, scenarios, and strategies on what to do now to get you published. So let's get back to the show. And here again is your host, Dr. Judith Briles.
One of my goals is always to leave you with those insights and tips for your author, your publishing, your social media, and of course your book marketing success. So because this is a lot of times where people say, okay, I'm going to do it differently. Or at least I'm going to follow through with what I said I was going to do differently the year before. I get it. I totally get it. So let's go through a variety of things for the remainder of our hour together and just talk about the variety of things that will incorporate that little social media, that publishing, that marketing, and getting onto it. But also it incorporates the concept I gave you with, okay, so let's go through a prioritizing. What are the things that are really important to grow you as an author, to support your book and whatever your fill-in-the-blank success that your goal is to do. So let's think about some changes that you might want to make. And we're not talking about losing weight. I'm not talking about getting healthy, although that's probably a good idea. But the possibilities are really endless of what you're going to do. So let's start right. I'm going to just kiss off right now. I've said for years and years and years that social media is your town hall for marketing. I have not changed on that. It has been redefined, it has been broadened, and it's been reduced in some areas in the influence-related factor. It's always essential for you to know where you and your expertise and your book belong. And I am still kind of rattled when I ask authors that and they don't know it. So let's start where you belong in those areas and look at those. You don't belong on everything. So narrow it down, go down to 2. What 2 platforms are your cup of tea? That's simple. What 2 platforms? Now, I'll confess I'm on most of them, but I have to be. And I post on most of them. Now, there's calendars out there that say only post certain days on this and this. Stay away from that. You know, for example, if you're a business book, I'm going to tell you, just stay put on LinkedIn, most likely, and Twitter. If you want any media, you need Twitter. That's where reporters are. That's where you can reach into newsrooms very quickly. That's where you can pitch there. When I have people say, I'll never be on Twitter, well, okay. So forget about pushing your book on media. And oh, well, wait a minute, I do want to be on media. So get over it. It doesn't mean that you don't have to put all the other stuff up out there, but it's related to your expertise. And if you can, especially you nonfiction authors, if you cannot put a post up every day pulling a single line that you've already written from your book, there is something wrong. They have the capability of pulling images from just about anywhere to support it. Twitter is now showing that when people are using videos or a short clip, that there's more engagement, there's more attention, there's more click-throughs, etc. So that's what you want to be looking at. You know, who's looking at your stuff, and you should know that. So social media is where you belong. So come over to the others I mentioned. Oh my God, TikTok. It is so not me. You know, I always think of that as from the younger crowd of doing those things. But the reality is I can put up video clips, very short teases. I've got a book that has been repurposed now. It's in layout now as we listen to this. And originally it was called How to Avoid 101 Book Publishing Blunders, Bloopers, and Blue-Boos. It's been changed. The new title is How to Avoid Book Publishing Blunders. That's it. It has been totally gone through every page in this book and redone and be redone and added to. And I'd like to say there wasn't a page I didn't find something I didn't change on. Every page. There was some tweak, some altering I wanted to do from when I wrote the book 4 years ago. So see, these things change as we go back and forth. And that's why you don't want to, unless you're a fiction writers, you get a free do not go to jail card here. Fiction writers pretty much have their storylines intact. Now, exception for a fiction writer would be you need to go back at your book and look at it. Has your writing style changed? Are you a better writer? Bet you are. Could you do this a little bit better? Would you shorten it? Would you expand it? Would you add more narrative to it? Fill in the blank. Right? That's when you come back for that repurpose and go with it. Whether you retitle, that's another animal. So, social media. Where do you belong? Find a spot for it. And remember that when you think about the search engines, the search engine gods, Google number 1, okay? YouTube number 2, Amazon number 3. Where are you? Are you on all those places where people are checking things out? Do you have anything right now you're thinking, well, I don't have a YouTube, I don't have a YouTube. Well, maybe you can start converting. Maybe you can start converting some things, but make it very short. If you've got a smartphone, you've got a video. Start using it and uploading it and start building from there. So, number 1 is it's social media time. If you're not on it, get on it. If you're on it, can you do it better? And can you be more active on that? Now, I'll tell you, I have 2 virtual assistants that work for me. They do a lot of, after I create the posts, they do all the posting out. I don't do it. Do they follow up? Check in what's going on? Absolutely. If something needs my attention, they get back to me. You may have to do this yourself, but you need to allocate. This is part of your marketing as you go along. And really, you should also be checking out what your comparables and your competitors are doing here. Next up, let's talk about blogs. Blogs are cool. There's wonderful things you can do with blogs. You don't have to blog every day. You don't have to blog a zillion times a week, but you can do it once a week. Do you have to write 2,000 words? Heavens no. You can write a couple of paragraphs, but something that ties in with who you are, what you're about, what your expertise is. Use a portal that you can get it out, and you start pushing out in this area. And again, if as a nonfiction writer, you've already got blogs. Your books are full of blogs. Going into any section, just do a random, open your book. What page did it land on? Okay, let your eyeball scan it down. What paragraph popped out? Copy and paste it, sandwich around it, give it an opening and a close, call to action, voila, publish it. On your blogs, make sure you do them on the same day of the week. Be consistent so people know, like I have a new blog that comes out every Tuesday morning. Every Tuesday morning. Now, how far ahead do I write them? Well, sometimes I can be a month ahead. Sometimes something hits me literally Tuesday morning. I had something else early in the morning. Something hits me. Oh, no, I love this idea. And I will whip up something very quickly and sub it in and push the blog I had slated for that day to the next week. Or maybe I just add it on for the next week's. But usually, the max I've ever set blogs up is a month in advance. But, depending upon how you work, some people, especially people who write short blogs, can do a whole month's worth, 2 months worth, 3 months worth, all at the same time and just have them done, check, and I'm done with it. So blogging is essential. Now, here's where so many authors fall down. They don't get that you should promote your blog. So what you should be doing is consider adding in a campaign of some sort. Create some social media push-outs, key lines again, keywords with the expertise or the topic of the blog. You'll add that in with hashtags as well. And just post it up on your social media channels. New blog today. If you need help on blah, 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 this is for you. And the link, hashtag. That's the way to go about doing these things and start building. So blogs are important. Now let's come back to marketing with your website. That is, so many people seem to kind of forget that your website is your online business card. It's an important element. Should every author have a website? And I'm going to tell you, yep. my fourth grade teacher, Mrs. Russell, I quote her all the time, said, you should not use the word always and never. I get that. This isn't always. This is an exception to Mrs. Russell's rule because you end up eating them. I get that. But if you understand the website is this portal to bring people into your world and your dimension where you've got sections about your books, you've got sections about who you're about, maybe about your ability to speak to whether it's a book club or an organization, fill in the blank, that's all there. You need to have a magnet to bring them in. So we just posted a whole new opt-in piece or what they call a lead magnet. You'll see those two words interchanged. All right, one of the most searched things on my website is looking for an article I wrote, How to Get Your LCCN, the Library of Congress number, the most searched item for several years. I finally put together a very slick PDF piece on how to get your LCCN. We are now pushing that out in an email. So if we put it on our email, but see, if I have their email, they're already in this goal is to let people, one, they know it, but it's also done to attract people coming to my website. And you have to give them a goodie, a perk that they need. Authors should have an LCCN. Authors screw up so many times because they think about that after they have put their book into print. Too late. The book is already out of the barn. What you have to do is apply for it and get it before it's officially available for buying, for publishing. Got that? So we have one, how to grab your LCCN today. Right at the very top of my website going, and then we will have a corresponding campaign that will push out and we'll let people go, grab your information to get your LCCN before you publish your book. And we've written a whole campaign with over 15 pushes for that. All right, with that, we're going to take another quick break with more ideas for you to excel in marketing this year.
This is your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles. And we'll be right back with more great information right after these.
Discover the power of you and your book at the Judith Briles Unplugged events. Each summer, Judith Briles Book Marketing Unplugged unfolds over 3 intensive days working with just Judith. You get publishing strategies, author and book platforms, book marketing panache and pizzazz, and authoring tools to take you and your book to rock star success. In the fall and winter, Judith Briles Speaking Unplugged includes Judith as your coach and mentor during 2 powerful days. You will learn how to structure a speech, how to create openings and closings, how to find gigs that pay you and sell your books, and you will get one-on-one coaching. Go to thebookshepherd.com and click on the Events tab to learn how to participate at the next Unplugged Workshop event.
Welcome back to your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. Coming up, you'll hear more about statistics, scenarios, and strategies on what to do now to get you published. So let's get back to the show. And here again is your host, Dr. Judith Briles.
Alrighty, so we've talked about social media. We've talked about doing a blog. Please get going on a blog. Have some fun with it. And creating an opt-in or that lead magnet that will get people. And this will be the single best thing that you could possibly do. But that's where you want your social media. You're pushing it out. Eyeballs who get on your feeds, your information, and now you're offering them a goodie that, and for my case, authors need an LCCN. They need to get one. They should have one. If you want your book in a library, got to have an LCCN. If you want to look like you're professionally publishing, you got to have an LCCN. Get over all this other stuff. So how do you do it? Well, we're going to offer that and move that out. Now, what's the objective? The objective is to get new names and new eyeballs so you can interact with them, whether you sell more books or you have courses that you do, or you're going to do a webinar. You need to gather emails to invite people to do this. So all they have to do is give their name and their email, and they have this opt-in that goes forward. Now, I will tell you, they will get this detailed PDF on how to do it with, I have charts, I have arrows drawn, I have things to circle, click here, do these things that I took pictures as I went along. But also in a few days, I'm going to give them a few more goodies. For over 10 days, I will give them more information on different things, all free, not asking for anything. Just here's some good information that will help you be successful as an author. All right. So number 4 is start guesting on other podcasts. Now, during the pandemic, pre-pandemic, there was like less than 1 million podcasts out there. In the internet radio area, now there is more than double out there, and I'm hearing everyone running around, be a podcast host, be a podcast host. And the answer is maybe for this. So if you're interested in being a podcast host, let me just make an offer. Call me. Contact me. Call me at my phone number, 303-885-2207. I will give you 15 minutes comp time and give you some pros and cons. And if I feel that this is something that you want to commit to, I'll give you my resources to use and tap into that have helped me be successful as a podcast host. It is not for everyone. It is work. It takes huge amount of time and energy and marketing chutzpah to move it forward so you start taking a position. Otherwise, you're just going to be another bleep. Who's going to know you're out there? Knowing that podcasts have doubled in the last year. The last year doubled. That the competition is there. And as I said, they are a lot of work. So if you're really interested, I'd love to help you out. But it's a commitment. It's a huge time. It's an energy commitment. And it's something that you have to be faithful to. It's not, what I see is a lot of people jump in, they get caught with the technology, or they, oh my gosh, I have to market, there's only 2 people listening. Listen, when I started my podcast 6 years ago, 1 person listened, my husband, because he didn't want me to be alone, and he thought he would be the good guy. Okay, then it grew, but it didn't happen overnight. It takes time. So if you're interested, I'm glad to give you a few minutes of my time to brainstorm with you and then do a reconnection. Just call me. Number 4 is that I want you to offer to consider guest blogging for other people. Find out who are other people who are blogging in your area of expertise, or maybe someone you follow. Just reach out and do the offer and ask. Do the ask, do you ever have guest bloggers? I'd be delighted to be it for you. And do that. And maybe you can even pick up, now here's what you have to find out. I got stuck here. A very dear friend of mine who died last year, Joel Friedlander. I was one of his top columnists for a long time. Joel, just before his death, sold his company. And we all got kind of thrown under the water with it, where I didn't want, I absolutely do not support this group that picked up and bought his company. And in fact, I have them in one of my social predator lists. And that I didn't want to be part of it. And neither did any of the other columnists. But we got stuck because Joel's name was attached to it. So you need to understand what the rules are, what the parameters are. If you're doing a guest blog, do you maintain the copyright, or does it go to the blogger? Can you reprint it other places? Joel, we always did fresh, brand new, clean columns for him. Every 2 months, I did a new column for him. So what you want to do is figure out what's there. Will it work for you? And you do want the ability to republish, repurpose things on that, especially in your areas of expertise. I mean, anyone can come in and claim, well, no, you've already written this for us. You can't write it for anyone else. I mean, you've already got a book on it. So of course you should be able to. You only can say words so many different ways. You can only do a concept so many different ways. So make sure that they're in your ballpark and not somebody else's ballpark, if I can just say that. And you hear that loudly and clearly. So guest blogging, absolutely, but make sure you have control and you can reuse that in those areas. So I'm going to encourage you to go out and podcast, be a guest. So just go to the Google and ask literally, what podcasts feature authors, or it could be nonfiction authors. It could be authors with your area's expertise. Just go in there and then you just start going down. Get a very clean, tight pitch. Your name, you're the author of, and you tell, you show, you demonstrate, you show, you illustrate to listeners how to blah, 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 blah. Let them know that you're humorous if you are. Good idea. Interactive. And let them know that you're available for pre-taping or live shows with there. All right, consider about, there's online groups out here. Boy, groups have full every which way now. Facebook has groups up the gazoo. You're going to see groups forming on Instagram. Groups are going to be forming on other social media channels. I've had a huge group on LinkedIn for years with over 18,000 members in it, the AuthorU-Your group, where people could, they can post things, they can share information, they can do a variety of elements out there. So groups, like-minded groups, like-theme groups, like expertise groups that you can pull from and that you can contribute to. Consider starting your own group. And inviting people to it. You can make it a public or you can make it private. It's up to you. And I haven't seen pros and cons on keeping it exclusively private. For membership organizations, they will do that private. That works well. But it depends upon where you're going to go with it and what your expectations are and what you want to do. So do that one. Next up, I'm going to go back to social media. Hey, kick up what you're doing. Pick up your social media post, repeat them on that. Remember, Twitter has a 24-minute, goodbye. Facebook, maybe 2 hours max. They all have limitations. Pinterest, they stay up forever. Your boards that you do, and I would encourage you. I know that I've had John Kramer on with me before as a guest, and we have spoken exclusively about Pinterest, about, the why of Pinterest, the power of Pinterest. So take advantage of Instagram. Ding, bang, it's going to be gone really quick. Same with some of these others. So that's why you have to say, if I'm going to go on this channel and things only last a few seconds, do I really want to put the energy into that? So think about that. Now, one of the things that I'm a big believer in to make you better is reading. And you're thinking, what? Absolutely. What's out there? Now, I read both fiction and nonfiction. Nonfiction when I'm looking for topics, maybe possibly research. But, I get really amazing insights, ahas from something on the wall. That's why I always keep a little notepad so I can write it down, jot it. If I'm viewing, watching, so I can keep viewing, watching. Maybe it's a line, maybe it's a concept, maybe it's an aha, who knows? But I'm looking for those little things. And so when I do really research, I have a highlighter in my hand. I've got sticky notes to the side. You ought to see the dog ears I put sometimes in books that I want to come back to really fast, see really fast in going in. So what is it that you're doing in that arena on that? Because if you're writing, you've got to be committed to lifelong learning on that. And you also have to know what your own habits are that will, keep you going. I always love one of the habits that I discovered that Ernest Hemingway had. He always wrote, the finger typing that reporters did on typewriters, manual typewriters back then. But do you know that he sharpened 37 pencils? He had to sharpen pencils before he could start writing. 37 of them at a crack. Can you imagine? All right, so what habits you want to reinforce, acknowledge that you have, keep them in play, and you go for that. I know for me, one of my habits is I always have a hot mug of tea when I am in the writing zone. And when it's summertime and I need cooler, it's peach iced tea. It's part of my habits. Make sure you have them close by. I will bring in mugs of hot water sometimes that I can start making. I have a thermos that I will have a full-blown, it's right there at the side, so I don't have to move when I'm in the zone. So support that. So keep learning more. That's where you want to keep doing. Now, if you haven't listed your book in multiple formats, there's the print, there's the there's the audio book. There is that, do you have different editions of your print book? Is your book viable for a video book that's coming along? What? Make sure you have them. You can do launches with each one, which is very cool, rolling them out on that, and take advantage of those things. All right, so when we come back, we're going to take our final break, but I'm going to talk a little bit about the Amazon, creating an Amazon bestseller. If you haven't done it, let's do it. And I'll give you a couple of tips on how to do it. I actually teach a class on how to do this over a 4-week time. And anyone who's gone through it has had a mega success with it. We'll be right back. It's AuthorU, your guide to book publishing.
This is your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles. And we'll be right back with more great information right after these.
Are you confused about publishing options? Do you know which printing option is best for your book? Does your stomach flip when you think about selling books? Or do you feel overwhelmed with what to do about book marketing and publicity? Get the answers and much more. Get them and from someone who knows publishing inside and out from both the traditional and independent sides, how to make a successful book. You can't do it alone without paying the price. You can spend your money creating a book that turns out to be so-so, or you can create a book that looks and feels classy, builds your brand and platform, and is a success, a bestseller. It is your choice. You choose. If you want author and publishing success, you want Judith Briles as your book coach. Sign up for her weekly blogs and e-zine at thebookshepherd.com. The book shepherding concept is simple. The publishing world is changing, and so must you. You need an experienced shepherd and guide to collaborate with you as you create, strategize, develop, publish, and achieve your publishing goals. Publishing is riddled with obstacles, sometimes nightmares for the author. You do not need more problems. You want solutions. Dr. Judith Briles will shepherd you through the maze and chaos. At times, she has had to step in and rescue a book that has been sabotaged by a publisher, by a publishing service provider, and sometimes even by the author. If you want author and book success, connect with her today at thebookshepherd.com.
Welcome back to your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. If you want to write and publish a book, if you want to be successful as an author, Your guide to book publishing, everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask, is for you. Stay tuned and you'll hear about statistics, scenarios, and strategies on what to do now to get you published. So let's get back to the show. And here again is your host, Dr. Judith Briles.
So as we continue on things that you should absolutely add to your must-do list, not have-to-do list, but must-do list for this year involved with your marketing, that one of the things, and this is, I've mentioned this earlier in the show, that I did was a repurpose. So what can you do to do a repurposing? For me, I am, and this is all my publishing related books, I went through with the eyeball thinking, is it current? Does it need to be updated? Do I need to eliminate anything? Do I need to add anything? That was my first thought. Then, knowing that I was doing this, we're in revision time. So we did update with covers. And then what about, can you add a chapter or two? Now, if you have, for example, an introduction in your book, I'm going to tell you, change that to author's note. From the author, that would be moi or you, to your reader. And personalize it just a little bit. Most introductions are really boring and dry, and people skip them. But what I found is introductions have a lot of really important, good stuff. Fix it up. Bring it back to life. All right, then, when you do this kind of thing, and like on my crowdfunding book, which I had to pull out 2 people who I wouldn't recommend. They're just not doing it. And just focus on 3 of the crowdfunding giants and why. In the strategy, I came across a really slew of good information on data, and it used to be in crowdfunding, which I'm going to do a whole session on crowdfunding, a podcast on crowdfunding coming up, is that crowdfunding is you have in publishing, if you're going to do a crowdfunding, you want to be part of the 35 club, 35%. Of authors who do crowdfunding projects around their books succeed in crowdfunding, 35%. So this book is all about being part of the minority. So what can you do to make that stand out, that little variable, that revision, that repurpose? So I'm going to do really a more chapter with the more updated stats that are going on so people can really get a feel. This is how big this billion-dollar industry is, and bring that about. So think about if you add a chapter or 2, you want to get a new ISBN, and we're not just talking about your print ISBN. You're doing a new ebook, people. You've got a new ebook coming down with it, so you have to revamp that. Now, if they'll let you, the good news is in ebooks, you upload new files and it's gone. But it's a good idea to make sure if your title's changing that everything matches in that. Do you need a new LCCN? And when you do all this stuff, it becomes newly eligible for reviews, for applying for book awards and other opportunities that might be out there. And let's just hope if you do the retitle, there's a snap, crackle, and pop to it. So that's what the repurposing is about. So and basically we're relaunching. You're doing a relaunch of an old book. And look, books get old. Now, there may be some, I'm not even going to go down there. But there'll also be some, I've always loved this. This is a good book. Yeah, we'll do this on those things. All right, next up, if you're looking for media, you should be in HARO, HARO. It stands for Help a Reporter Out. So they've got free and fee sides that you can even on one side of it, you can be looking for stuff to be featured in, but you also, maybe you're looking for something out there on it. And a lot of people read HARO out there, and maybe you're trying to get some guinea pigs for a survey that you're doing, or that you're trying to get more data on that. You could do a post as from that side, like you were a journalist, and get people to talk to help you out. And it always works terrifically. All right, next up, it is time for you I do this every year. Let's look over your profiles, your social media profiles, your bio profile at the end of your blog. You do have one. Yes, you will. hope you don't. But what's it say about you? Is it current? Are you working on a new book? Are you letting people know? Author of the forthcoming. What about your email signature? Every time you have something going out, do you have a email signature that snap, crackles, and pops? I keep using that, but that's what it needs to do. Is it visually attractive? Does it have a photo or an image? Maybe you're using your book images. Maybe you're announcing your next book, doing the reveal on those kind of things. Discover, if you haven't discovered BookBrush, certainly do. BookBrush is a great resource to use. It's a website that was developed exclusively for authors, and it's got all kinds of nifty marketing tools on the free side. Now you can upgrade, like I pay for it, and I'm upgraded, and I can get into all kinds of things. There's like a nifty thing that you can do a cover reveal. Like each day you could reveal a certain part of a cover of a book if you've got a book launching coming on, and that kind of fun. And if you go into the side that's free, make sure you use my code. I get zero money for this. It just gives you a discount. And it's just my name, Judith, and the number 15 after it, Judith 15. Doesn't matter if you cap it, lowercase it, Judith 15. Take advantage of that. BookBrush, I think, is a great resource. Now, how about some ads? I'm always, and where are you going to do ads, especially if you're doing a launch? Okay, so there is, if you're doing for free, like when I do ebooks, that I use the Booksy. The Booksy has the bargain Booksy, which is like you drop your book down to 99 cents or something, $1.99, something like that. But that, think about doing a stacking, you would be calling like a stacking price promo. And for the first day, it could be on Bargain Booksy and maybe the Book Barbarian. These are names of groups that actually you can engage. You can pay sometimes like $50 for the ad. Very inexpensive. They have huge followings. And you place your ad in a category that it's appropriate, whether it's mystery, whether it's YA, whether it's romance, fill in the blank. On day 2, there's something called Book Rebel, Book Cave, or Robin Reads. And then day 3 could be like the Fussy Librarian and Book Sense. All right, those are just a couple of companies. There's others out there. I've worked with all of them and used them all for my own personal push-outs, launches, relaunches, new launchings, ebook promotion, Amazon bestseller runs, that kind of thing. But I found that those are far more successful than some of the other ad capabilities. But you want to explore these sites to figure out, okay, which one feels right for me? And then there's other sites that offer free ways to promote your book. So let me give you a few of those. So there would be Free Booksy. There's the lineup. There's something called Book Doggy, like Dogggy. Indies Unlimited, Book Goodies, Book Angel, Book Bongo. Those are just a few that you could play with. So again, they're ways to promote your book for free, which I think is always cool on that as we go on with that and going forward with it. Okay, so those are a couple of options on that. All right, so the next up is I want you to think about, I mentioned Amazon bestseller. All right, I actually have a workshop I do. I do them like every other month, like January, March, May, etc., like that. I limit it to 10 people because it's really one-on-one coaching with me. It's a 90-minute coaching session over 4 weeks. And you have work. We work immediately, and then you have some posts that you come back and you share, and we put your campaign together. I actively promote. Now, with the promotion of Amazon, here's why people say, oh, it's just Amazon. We're talking about really owning Amazon in your categories. We're changing all your categories. We're getting into them. We're actively after both international as well as domestic here in the U.S. And it's very common where our clients might nail, besides Canada, Australia, maybe UK, sometimes France, sometimes Germany, where they will hit bestseller status. Here's what's cool. When you become a bestseller or an international bestseller, guess what you can do? You can go up and do this on your ebook. You can put the bestseller logo, Amazon has no problem with you doing that, on your ebook page, and all of a sudden that little seal pops you out better. You could put a press release out. You add it to your website. You add it to your email signature. You add it to your book page, the logos that go on all of those things. And it enhances, this is all part of marketing, it enhances your visual clip that is available to people. And that's where you end up selling more books. And people are attracted. Gee, do I want to buy that? I never heard of this person before, but gee, this other person is best-selling. Maybe I'll go with that. So that's what you're after and where you're going with that. The bottom line is, what are you going to do differently this year? What were you doing last year that worked well, that you want to take and expand? What were you doing that wasn't working? Is it time to dump it? Or maybe you just didn't execute it, get it implemented right. That's where you're at in this whole thing called book marketing. So I want to wish you all a happy, successful year. Thanks for spending your hour with me. And remember that your authoring and publishing success is always up to you, always up to you. And remember that your words matter. So let's get them out. Let's get them supported. Let's add successful author after your name. I'm Judith Briles. We'll see you next week.
Hey.